The winner of tomorrow's game will have a second national title. Of course, talking about the coaches, but is Tom Izzo considered up there with Roy Williams? That's what we're going to break down here on Destination Detroit, presented by Denny's, brought to you by the all-new Grand Slam, which everything you want and everything you've loved about the Grand Slam, all now in a sandwich. Jason Horowitz, glad to be alongside the team. CBS College Sports' Steve Lappas, the head coach of St. John's, Norm Robertson. Guys, when you talk about Tom Izzo, at least nationally, it doesn't always have the same ring in terms of Roy Williams, Jim Calhoun, some of the other coaches, yet if he wins tomorrow night, he'll have more national titles than Roy Williams. Why is that?
Well, I don't know if that really is. I think a lot of people have tremendous respect for this guy. You go to 5 Final Fours in 11 years. You're a head coach for 14 years, and you could tell recruits that every guy who's played for you has been to a Final Four. You've got big respect. I think part of it is, Carolina is a little more glamorous in terms of, as opposed to Michigan State, especially when it comes to basketball. I think that may add to it. But Tom Izzo is a very well-respected guy.
Norm, within the coaching realm of active coaches, when people look at playing Roy Williams in North Carolina, or you look at playing Michigan State and Tom Izzo, how are they looked at?
I think they're looked at the same. I think they're both great coaches. I think you got two different style leagues now. When you're talking about the ACC, that's a glamour league with Duke and North Carolina and how they play. And then when you look at the Big Ten, Michigan State, Indiana, it's more of a rough and tumble league. So I think that's why people look at it that way. But I'm telling you, Tom Izzo is one of the best coaches in the country. He gets up and down. They play a half-court style. They play a physical style of basketball. I think everybody likes him quite a bit.
He's also a great coach on the second game of a tournament weekend. He's only lost twice in his entire coaching career on the second game of a tournament weekend, and of course Monday will be that as well. It just goes to show how he prepares for tournament games.
Well, it's a quick comeback, and what happens is he doesn't change much, and I think that the people that don't change much with a one-day prep, it favors them in terms of how their teams are going to play. He's going to play the same way. They're going to play man-to-man defense. They're going to protect that three-point line. They're going to crash the boards, and they're going to execute their stuff. That's what they do.
How are they prepping for Monday, Norm? How are both of these coaches prepping?
Well, I think they're prepping, Michigan State in particular, they're prepping for that transition defense. They know they've got to guard and transition. They've got to slow North Carolina up and make them play more of a half-court game. I think they're going to play them a lot like Louisville. They're going to say, let's make it more of a half-court game, more of a grinded-out game, more of a physical game, which is to their liking.
The other thing that also is, in terms of what they have to prep for, is something that they can't control, and that's the crowd. And, of course, the way that they've gone about it here this weekend, Tom Izzo, of course, has played it up, and the fact about Michigan and this team playing for the state of Michigan and the city of Detroit. Roy Williams said, we're not playing against a building. I happen to think he's wrong. They are playing against a building.
Oh, I think that the crowd is definitely going to have an effect on this game. I don't know if it's going to have enough effect for Michigan State to win the game, but that crowd and the electricity is going to help those Michigan State kids. But this North Carolina team is a very mature team. That's one thing that we have in this Final Four. A lot of upperclassmen. These guys have been on the road, a lot of tough places, and they've done okay.
How do you prepare, Norm? Because in that second game, North Carolina-Villanova, a lot of people had left the building. The air had been taken out after that Michigan State game. They didn't get that same environment that the Spartans felt in that first game. So how do you prepare them for that?
Well, I would tell you North Carolina's used to big games. They're used to playing in big games and big crowds and those things. But it will have an effect. It'll have a tremendous effect if the game stays close. If it stays close, you're talking about the last 7-8 minutes of that game. If it's close, that place is going nuts, then that's when it's going to have its effect.
Roy Williams had an interesting point. He said earlier today, we're here to win a national championship, period. And he said if Michigan State won, that we would be poor and that they would solve the economic crisis, we should stay poor for a little longer because we came here to win a national title. But the point being, he can't care about the crowd and he can't care about what they're fighting because he can't control that. Now, one last thing here. You talk about your players. They're also fighting for everything, too, because they've got this experience. They came here, Tyler Hansbrough, Ty Lawson, all those guys. They came back for one more year to win a national title. When you look at that, and that's got to have an effect on Roy Williams as well.
Well, there's no doubt. Those guys, he knows there's pressure on all those North Carolina, the coaches, the players, everybody, because only one thing will make this season a success for them, and that's cutting down those nets. And they've carried that weight with them all year, and now they're here. I can't see them letting that out of their grasp.
The added pressure that Norm was just talking about in the last 6-7 minutes against the 60,000 that'll be rooting for Michigan State. And don't forget the game on CBS, the prelude to a championship beginning at 9 o'clock on Monday night. That's it here for us on Destination Detroit, presented by Denny's. And don't forget on April 8th to bring a friend to Denny's and get a free Grand Slam, which when you purchase a Grand Slam from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Again, that's on April 8th. For Steve Lappas and Norm Roberts, I'm Jason Horowitz. Take care, folks.